We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from.
Here's everything you need to know about the off-key monologue that got Jimmy Kimmel's show pulled indefinitely. The controversy began during Monday's show when the late-night comic started off by claiming that MAGA was using Charlie Kirk's assassination to score political points.
In between the finger-pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
Kimmel then doubled down, sharing that it wasn't the first time since Kirk's murder that Trump redirected a question about the Turning Point USA founder back to the White House ballroom.
And it didn't just happen once.
When I heard it, I was in the midst of, building a great, for 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom at the White House, right? They don't have a ballroom, they have to use tents. And they came in, they said, Charlie Kirk is dead. I didn't know what they meant. I said, he was dead. Charlie Kirk was shot.
And then we installed the most beautiful chandelier. Sconces you wouldn't believe. There's something wrong with them. There really is.
Now, some Americans are already pushing back. We've heard that business and money was part of the threat here. So some people using their money and wallets are immediately canceling their entire Disney subscriptions, which of course covers a lot more than just ABC, to say they don't want Bob Iger's Disney products if this is the censorship agenda, the anti-First Amendment cave that they sign on to, and then they're echoing that in their own platforms online.
Disney Plus, yeah, y'all could go ahead and hit the road, Jack.
That was your mistake, getting scared by the FCC.
Not Disney Plus, not a Disney cruise, not Disneyland, not Disney World.
I found out that there's a protest at Disney headquarters and I'm going.
Disney Plus and Hulu canceled. Throw you in the bin.
We will not be there with Mickey and Minnie.
Remember, if these companies are just going with what they think the pressure is, money or government pressure, there are a lot of people who can provide their own pressure. That's true in sort of consumer culture. It's true in democracy. You still have your voice. You still have your money. You still have the ways you can express yourself. And remember, now is the time to do it. Although I'm not telling you what to do. Everyone can make up their own minds, of course.
The indefinite suspension of Jimmy Kimmel Live has sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry, sparking a surge of cancellations across Disney's streaming platforms. Kimmel's on-air remarks about the politicization of conservative activist Charlie Kirk's death drew swift backlash from government officials and major broadcast affiliates, turning late-night commentary into a national flashpoint. Social media erupted with boycott calls and screenshots of canceled Hulu and Disney Plus subscriptions, even from celebrities. While Disney has withheld official figures, the surge in Google searches for cancel Disney Plus and cancel Hulu confirms a widespread protest now escalating into a public relations crisis for CEO Bob Iger. What makes this moment more significant is how Americans are responding. Many are recognizing their buying power, with some realizing they never needed these subscriptions in the first place, shifting the backlash from a fleeting boycott into a broader reassessment of consumer habits. Yet this controversy is about more than one host. Industry insiders suggest the FCC and affiliates like Nexstar and Sinclair, both with mergers pending, seized the uproar to pressure Disney at a vulnerable time. This calculated move has fueled fears that political and regulatory leverage is beginning to dictate what comedians and networks are allowed to say. The suspension sets a chilling precedent, signaling that free speech and entertainment may be subject to corporate survival. Disney now faces a stark dilemma: defend its talent and risk government retaliation, or cave to outside pressure and alienate both viewers and the creative community. Either path carries heavy consequences, but the immediate fallout is already reshaping the conversation. American audiences are no longer behaving like passive subscribers. They are actively wielding their consumer power, forcing the most powerful entertainment company in the world to reckon with a shift it cannot easily control.
Oh no! The Disney Plus cancellation page crashes as customers rush to quit after the Kimmel suspension. Darn it!
Everybody is canceling their Disney and Hulu Plus subscriptions in the hopes that they will feel canceled after canceling Jimmy Kimmel. But there's a catch. So this person here, you can see they're paying with ads $10.99 a month. And when she goes to cancel her subscription, it's going to offer the same package for only $2.99 a month. Not saying you should keep your subscription, but what I am saying is that this is severely affecting Hulu and Disney Plus. Now, will this be enough to bring down a company like Disney? Definitely not. You would have to stop going to Disneyland, stop watching their movies in theaters or paying for them in any regard. Hulu isn't as big of a deal because they're going to be absorbed by Disney anyways. But not only are people canceling their Hulu and Disney subscription, they're protesting right outside Disney Studios in Burbank. This is all over free speech. If you take Jimmy Kimmel as a person out of it, the reason people are really mad is because their freedom of speech is getting taken away.
Nah.
I know that ain't who I think it is.
I can tell y'all getting y'all ass whooped. Because I canceled my subscription yesterday. And y'all like, activate it today. Yeah. This is how the people can make a stand against what's happening. You can protest with your wallet. That's all these companies care about. Which is part of the reason how this whole thing started with Jimmy Kimmel. This is how it works. So nope.
I'm glad Jimmy Kimmel got canceled because honestly, y'all needed to see a white man be silenced for y'all to get how absolutely fucking ridiculous this is. Y'all loved watching people lose their jobs over their opinions, even though y'all called it cancel culture when y'all were losing your jobs over your racism, which is not an opinion, it's a character flaw, right? Now, let me be clear. I love Jimmy Kimmel. I don't think he deserved to lose his show, but the fact that y'all are now saying, you know what, this is a little ridiculous. Why would they do that to Jimmy Kimmel? Y'all are remembering what happened to free speech. Y'all defended hate speech all the live long fucking day. And then when this happened, everybody all of a sudden was a prude. It was the pearl clutching. It was this, that, and the third. So you know what? I do hope that Jimmy Kimmel gets his show back, whether it be on a different network, whether that means like I don't know if you can go up against ABC because they got Disney. However, I do think that this is eye-opening for a lot of people. And so if it had to happen, it had to happen. But white people, don't let this go over your head, say that's a damn shame, and move on. Use that fucking fury for something, for fucking once, please.
I actually don't really care what happened to Jimmy Kimmel because I know that they will eat their own just so that we don't get a crumb. The biggest thing that I want us to recognize as a social media generation is that we told them that we did not care about the First Amendment. We told them that we did not care about free speech. Because for days and days and months and years on end, when we were telling people, hey, you need to use your platform, you need to speak. You need to talk about what's going on in the world and what's going on your side of the world. Folks said, no, everybody doesn't have to do that. Everyone is not political. In the midst of the Target boycott, when folks were like, oh, I still go to Target anyway. I never boycott and excused influencers that were going to Target. You don't think the powers that be use that data to say, oh, these people ain't about nothing. They're not going to stand for anything. And even if they stand for something, they're not going to do anything about it. And if their money or their job is on the line, they're never going to actually get active. Folks made more stink about Jimmy Kimmel getting kicked off air than the 300,000 black women getting kicked out of the workforce. And that just goes to show and tell me everything that I need to know in terms of how it is that people place their value in whiteness over everything else.
Y'all see what happened to Jimmy Kimmel? It's interesting, though, how freedom of speech only becomes a national crisis when white people start losing their jobs behind what they say. Not when it was black voices, not when it was teachers, not when it was protesters. But now it's news. Because that First Amendment is finally being felt the way that it's always worked. For some, not for all. The First Amendment was added to the Constitution in 1791, right? It was supposed to guarantee free speech, free press, religion, protest, and petition. But from the very beginning, it came with limits, just unspoken ones. Black voices weren't protected. Indigenous voices weren't heard. Women's voices weren't even counted. Abolitionists had their printing presses burnt down. Newspapers that spoke out were violently silenced. The Sedition Act of 1798 made it literally illegal to criticize the government. So while yes, the First Amendment existed, it was never truly available to everyone. So fast forward to this year, 2025, right? People are being investigated, fired, doxxed. Not just for what they've done, but for what they said. Airline workers, teachers, students, artists, professors, nurses. Some are being punished for speaking up about Gaza. Some for criticizing CK. Some for just reposting something that made the wrong people uncomfortable. Now the conversation about the First Amendment is back in the spotlight. Not because this kind of suppression is new, but because it's hitting people that it doesn't usually touch. And that discomfort, that's what a lot of us have been trying to explain for generations. But let's be honest, because we know the First Amendment only protects you from government censorship, not from people disagreeing with you. But when public institutions, universities, or elected officials start silencing people over viewpoints that they don't like, that crosses the line. Because when speech becomes a litmus test for opportunity, employment, or safety, it's not really freedom, is it? It's performance. And it only protects the people in power. So what we're seeing right now isn't a breakdown of the First Amendment. It's an unveiling. People who always assumed that it would protect them are now realizing that it was never unconditional. And folks who've always walked on eggshells, we're just watching the rest of the country finally catch up. Free speech was never about who's right. It's about who's allowed. And when that starts shifting, everybody should be paying attention.
From the beginning, the First Amendment was never equally applied. For people of color, it was little more than a promise on paper, a shield that only seemed to protect white voices. Black activists, indigenous leaders, immigrant organizers, all were surveilled, censored, jailed, or silenced, while white dissent was often tolerated as part of democracy. The supposed guarantee of free speech was selective, and everyone knew it. What is happening now with corporate media crackdowns and government pressure is not a new betrayal, but an extension of that history. The difference is that the curtain has been pulled back. When comedians, journalists, or average citizens face consequences for speech that challenges the status quo, it proves what marginalized groups have argued for centuries. The First Amendment has always been conditional, and its protections evaporate the moment speech threatens power. What we are witnessing is not the erosion of free speech. It is the admission that it never truly existed as advertised. That disillusionment is now bleeding into consumer behavior. The wave of subscription cancellations in response to Disney's decisions is more than outrage. It is a rejection of the illusion of choice. Americans are beginning to ask why they pay for services that control their voices, curate their thoughts, and quietly sell their data. Piracy, long dismissed as fringe, is back on the rise precisely because people are tired of endless subscriptions that pile up into unaffordable bills. It feels less like theft and more like protest, a way of opting out of a system that exploits both wallets and rights. If attacks on free expression continue, this rejection will spread. People won't only abandon paid services like Disney Plus or Hulu, they will also abandon free platforms that profit by monitoring every click and keystroke. The message is clear. When speech is conditional and access is monetized, consumers will find another way. And that could mean the collapse of the very platforms that thought they were untouchable.
You all laughed when I held on to my DVD Blu-ray collection because I like to make sure I have the DVDs on hand of movies that I want to watch when I absolutely need to watch them in case they're not available on streaming. And you all said, oh, Lauren, everything's available on streaming. If it's not on Netflix, it's on Amazon. If it's not on Amazon, it's on Apple. If it's not on Apple, it's on HBO Max. If it's not on HBO Max, it's on Disney Plus. If it's not on Disney Plus, it's on Netflix. Well, now look what's happening. Everyone's canceling their streaming platforms one by one by one by one. And what are you going to do the day you all want to watch Monsters Incorporated? I'll be waiting.
I just signed up for Disney Plus and Hulu so I could cancel it.